Hi, everyone. Good evening. Carl Steinbeck here. Just want to jump on and talk about this case that's been swirling all around the nation with news coverage pretty much around the clock. And that has to do with, of course, Nancy Guthrie. And so we're on day 11 here where she's been missing and she was abducted from her home. And we don't know where she's at or what her status is, if she's even alive. But in any event, I wanted to jump on tonight and talk about a few of my thoughts, my gut reactions to things going on, and it is a extremely strange case, I must say. So no one has all the insights, of course, of what's going on right now. The FBI is come on board a couple days into the case, where they're now, it looks like they're taking the lead on things. And we had a huge break in the case where we have this imagery now from the front camera on the door of Nancy Guthrie. So this is going to be explosive. And it was estimated this would not be able to be produced. That's what the sheriff had earlier said, that we would not have any kind of the security camera footage available to see who was taking advantage of the situation of that neighborhood not having a lot of street lights, the houses being set back far away, and having all those the olive foliage around the houses there. So it was sort of something that was made it an easier target for people in that neighborhood to have that kind of a setup. And they also have approximately 1 acre plots there, so that's enough space there where if the houses are set back, things can go on there at the front doorstep, and neighbors not even know what's going on, and the folks driving by even would not know what's going on as well. So yeah, this is a weird format. Sorry, I had to restart the whole thing tonight because StreamYard was acting up and saying that it wouldn't transfer over to YouTube. StreamYard's a software that I use to broadcast onto YouTube. And someone's saying move to the left. Well, it's I guess that helps a little bit. But like I couldn't remove my name here. That's a new thing as well. So there's a lot of new gadgets and things on on StreamYard now that have changed. So anyway, going back to the issue at hand here, I think that when this first came to light, I was wondering why they didn't, first of all, seize on this as being a crime scene for what it was. I thought that they should have ruled up, did she possibly walk away? But based on the fact that there's blood there, could she have hit her head in the house and walked away outside and been disoriented, had a seizure or something, and not know where she's at and start walking around the yard? So I thought they need to do a better job of canvassing the area, specifically around her house and maybe the initial several neighbors' house down. And I did not see that going on, but I do think that eventually the neighbors and everybody would have, I surmise, would have started looking around and making sure she's not in their yard. And so we didn't hear anything about her being wandering off or anything like that. So that has happened. I know that happens a lot, and especially in assisted living type places where people have start having dementia and they wander off in the middle of the night, and sometimes they find them dead in a snowbank outside. So I think that we that was something that should have been ruled out. But I think that the fact that she had security cameras removed, and the fact that there was some of her blood, they obviously didn't know whose blood it was. But right away, I thought that they should have been at least parallel tracking this as being some kind of a crime scene there. So it wasn't until the next day that that they decided to rule this as being some kind of possible crime. And so it was like another day or two before they actually brought in the FBI. And so we saw a lot of missteps in the public announcements in the Q&A sessions by the sheriff, but he eventually decided not to do that because he was saying things that were later contradicted. For example, how was this discovered? What led to the 911 call being made, and so forth? And what time uh, did her daughter and her husband get over there? So a lot of these things, did she attend a church service or not? So a lot of these things were not exactly um, totally accurate at the time. But the um, the thing is, I think that the FBI should have been brought in sooner because I think we've made a ton of progress on this case by having the FBI come in. They were the ones that were able to get the footage by dealing with Google. Google's the one that did the that makes this security camera. So I believe that they would have coordinated with Google to have see if there's anything you can extract because we didn't have any kind of subscription service for this security system. It was inactive, but it was turned on but inactive. So um, anyway, it's just disappointing. The thing was the subscription wasn't there, but this leads me to believe that based on what we've seen from this video, I mean, I look at this, I'm like, wow, these guys are really bumbling fool idiots. The way they thought they could pull this off, because the way the guy was dressed, first of all, the way he looked so basically not even having any kind of like quick movement, quick energy, like he had any kind of plan to go in there and make a quick strike to get her out of there, hurry up and drive off. It's sort of like he was lost, not really knowing how to do this, way too casual about going through this front door and taking down the security camera. And obviously, he had himself covered pretty well, but I don't think he had himself covered enough where they're not going to be able to trace him and his movements. We're able to see not only just still images, we're able to see movements. So I think his movements and what we see of his eyes and his lips and facial hair, I think that we're going to be able to have the FBI come back with some really good success here in the next coming days. I just think there's too much digital stuff out there that this guy's not going to be able to get away with it. I was just saying to Leslie this weekend, I really think it's going to be within 2 weeks that he gets these guys get nabbed, whether it's one or more, we don't know, of course, but I think it's likely more than one. And so I think that the digital stuff is what's going to nail them. That's something that they didn't count for. And then when this footage from the door camera showed up yesterday, I'm like, wow, this guy is that shoddy of a criminal. And he has I would say one of the things I was looking for is the where he has his weapon. He has his weapon centered on a low rise jean belt, centered right near his crotch area. And I can tell you, anybody that's has any experience working with guns, you never put your gun there. Okay, you just don't. And you always have it on your hip. You could maybe have it on your back, or you could have it, some kind of ankle holster, calf holster, or something, or you could have one even up high. You could have a shoulder holster or something like that. But for this guy to have it where he did, I just thought this guy's not experienced with weapons. He's not experienced um, having any kind of familiarization with weapons whatsoever. Handguns. It looked like it was some kind of semi-automatic type handgun, probably a 9 mil or a 380 autoloader. So I think that no, I don't think it was a prop gun. I think it was a real gun he would have had. But then what we did have is certain things that are signature that they can be traced. Just like in the O.J. Simpson case, we had blood at the crime scene, and there was identifying footprints that were tied to Bruno Magli's shoes, and they're able to figure out the exact size of that, and that's an exact match um, in that case. And so here we have some kind of signature type things that can be used to trace to maybe the purchases that this guy made. It looks like it's an Ozark Trail backpack, and the Ozark Trail backpack is sold, as I understand, at Walmart. And so I think that those kind of things. Maybe he purchase the backpack in a few days. I was just talking a few weeks ago about how we always have these guys going to Home Depot and Walmart, and we have to have them on camera. And so this guy here, I think there's going to be more footage we find of him and his cohorts that did this. So yeah, I don't think it was a woman. I don't think it was any kind of fake mustache. I think that this guy, given that he's totally looks like this thing was so botched that he could get away with um, showing up there and not realizing that you could be on camera right as you're showing up. So did he know something about the security thing being disabled? Was he somebody that worked there? Was he somebody that was familiar with the house? It looks like the roof of the house was recently redone, and so the roof had was like basically really bright white, and none of the roofs there are bright white like that. So Obviously, there was recent roof work. I heard it was maybe done the end of January, or excuse me, end of December. And so, and then this way he walked away from the door, then grabbed some kind of plant and ripped off some of the leaves of the plant, and trying to cover up the ring camera. I mean, this guy is like low IQ, not too bright on how to hide himself. So that's what leads me to believe there's going to be other blunders from him. I think he's watching a lot of coverage for this, and I think there's going to be more things he does that's going to realize that people need to call in and make a report on suspicious activity. I can't believe the reward dollars is only $50,000 by the FBI. I thought that'd be a lot higher, and so I think this whole thing, my whole instincts on this deal about the this being some kind of a blackmail or extortion for money. I just don't think that I just don't think that this was really a true that was part of the plan of going in there, was to do this kind of kidnapping for ransom money. I just think that it's so not well thought out that this guy's going to get busted if they do send money through the Bitcoin thing, that's traceable. I'm not an expert on that kind of stuff, and we're hearing different things on it, but it sounds like you can sort of trace activity on there. Maybe you can trace the location of the that the person is accessing the information. So there's a lot of things that we don't even know about, that law enforcement has, that the intel community has, that maybe FBI is reaching out to them as well to try to get some kind of access to where this guy is located at, and able to make these kind of ransom demands. But I just think the whole thing about it is, if you're going to do a kidnapping for ransom case, things are moving really quick. You don't wait days to allow them to collect the money. This is a wealthy family. If you're doing it for ransom, they could have come up with the money really fast. You don't give them over a week to try to come up with the money. And so I think that this whole thing is maybe an afterthought. Maybe it's a ruse to try to get them off their trail. It could be also some type of a way that they're trying to get this focus off of the perpetrators and onto somebody else. Maybe they have somebody else doing this, so it's not actual perpetrators, but they'll actually have some kind of linkage over time. And so I think this thing is just not thought out well. It's going to come back to bite them, and so I think that this is going to be something that we are not. I'm praying I'm wrong on this. My instincts are initially that after like after a few days, I'm thinking this is not looking good. I'm really worried about her not coming out of this alive. And so I think that the way this has been blundered so bad as a scheme, and the way they're not even able to get money, and they're not giving a demonstration of that Nancy's alive and well. So that's something you need to do in order to get folks to give your money. So are they too stupid to figure that out? So there's all these blunders. If this is really a kidnapping for ransom case, that they're just like complete amateur buffoons on this. So there's none of this stuff is adding up. And so I think that, yeah, as Katrina is saying, no proof of life. If you don't give proof of life, then what are you able to do to get money? I mean, that's like 101 textbook to how you go about trying to get ransom money paid. So, I don't know if this was sort of a burglary gone wrong, and then maybe she had a heart attack and they tried to get rid of her because she'd seen them or something like that. But they had a ski mask on, so none of this stuff is making any sense, right? So, and she also had a pacemaker. So, also look at who you're targeting. Why would you target someone that's 84 with a heart problem and with a pacemaker as well? And then she doesn't have her meds as well. So I think this is just like so beyond ridiculous, stupid. And so the other thing that's really troubling, I think, is look at how much they're spending time at her daughter's house, who's married to this Tommaso. And so, yeah, the other issue, like you're saying, 40 minutes they're at the house. That's what digital evidence is showing. These kidnappers were there for 40 minutes. Why would they be that familiar and comfortable with the house? It just makes no sense. So, um, yeah, I was thinking that too. She had maybe a heart attack. I mean, if you're that old and you live alone and some masked man shows up like that, you're going to have a heart problem, I would think, right away. So why would they do that? Why would they be so stupid to do that? Um, so, given the fact that you have to date what we know of all these botched decision making things that these folks have done, that's why I think it's just a matter of days before they're able to capture the suspect or suspects. And there's a lot of talk that, hey, is this Annie's husband that did this, or maybe another band member? And there's a lot of comparisons between for facial recognition under that ski mask. So um, they're obviously running those to ground. But why are they spending so much time at Annie's and Tom's place and in that canvassing that neighborhood the last couple days? So something is really fishy with that. And then when I look at Annie, the last time I saw her on when they had the three siblings there making um, a public recording, she had her eyes closed. It seemed like most of the time, and she seemed like she just didn't seem like she was in the right kind of mindset you would expect somebody to be. So I just I just don't follow how this is going to help them if her and her husband were involved in this, or if her husband was involved, was she not know about it? So none of this makes any sense. None of it's thought out well, and that's why I think that they're gonna be caught soon. Uh, just me only says she had her eyes closed and was gulping. It's like she was nervous for being like she's gonna be busted. Like she's like, oh no, I got to make this, and like she was her eyes were too nervous looking, and they would be a giveaway. So yeah, the way he took those, flowers and weeds, put them in front of the camera. I mean, how are they gonna stay there? You're gonna somehow time around there or something? I mean, it's just foolhardy, idiotic behavior. Yeah, we had, the crime scene was not properly, I think, preserved the first couple days. Even when the FBI got there, they should have done a better job of, preserving the scene, I think, but I'm surprised they didn't bring out the bloodhounds. I don't know why we wouldn't have seen something about that. The place is just inundated with media. And I think today was a worst day. And why they didn't have not out brought out the bloodhounds. We saw about the glove today. I understand it was a mile and a half away from her house. So that's the kind of thing though that these stupid criminals will do. I know of a case up in Dallas of someone that got busted and he's doing life without parole, and he threw the mask. He had a mask and gloves just like this idiot on this case, and he threw it in the porta john, opened up the lid of the porta john and threw it in the sewage pit there of the porta john, and they wound up searching that and recovering that, and then his DNA was found in that, and so he was that was probably the best evidence against him. He went to trial and lost and got convicted, and so that's maybe what we have here as well. Yeah, Georgia boat girl. He walks up with his head down. He knew the camera was there. Yes, I agree with you on that. He's walking like he was not wanting to be seen with his face, but then when he gets closer enough there, he then looks up. So did he think his head was above the shot of the video or something? I don't know. Yeah, Patty Gee, his backpack was full, so where he's gonna put the stolen items. Yeah, I don't know. Was that a tarp and some rope? Something to gag her, to keep her mouth shut as they haul her out? Run for justice? You think the brother-in-law and one of his bandmates, more than one person is involved? I think so, especially if you're gonna hold somebody. I mean, I just I just don't think that, this is a solo act here. Yeah, the fact that it's also at night, I mean, you have the cover of darkness on one hand, and so you can't see him as good on a camera, but the flip side of that is there's not as much traffic out on the road, so I think there's such light traffic, if they do have any street cameras, they can have a better job of tracing the vehicle. You need Brown, you're saying she definitely had a heart attack if she woke up and saw that thing in her dark room. I would think, though, that just makes sense. What makes you think, "Wow, how did they think they could pull this off?" Francie Hart Sog, do you guys think this case has been handled differently because of the celebrity involved? Definitely. I mean, you even had the president saying, muster all the resources available to help find Nancy. If there's some poor folks on the South Side, this wouldn't be making national news like this probably. But I think that okay, somebody's saying it looks like I'm in shorts video. I'm not getting the full imagery. I don't Okay, I don't know why this is not full screen. I apologize for that. Someone says they want to know who tipped off the family that she wasn't at church. Well, I think it was a good thing because she's normally, I guess, in a chat. Initially, it was reported that she didn't show up to church, but since 2020, she's been going to the same church and has been attending it just virtually. And there's like a virtual chat group there. So the chat group, somebody noticed that she wasn't in the chat group, so they thought, hey, maybe that's odd that she isn't here with us to join the chat as the service is ongoing. So so I think that's why I decided to call her daughter Annie. Judy Allison, you think the brother-in-law had something to do with it? A gambling problem, you're thinking, Dado Soli, if Tommaso has a gambling problem, he might owe somebody money he can't pay. Did someone do this because of his debt? Sincerely heartfelt. You checked the last 3 minutes of Strategic Eyes latest live. He shows an overlay, and seriously, it was the guy in the brother-in-law's band. The overlay match is perfect. That's the kind of stuff that the FBI is going to be able to do. They have the most advanced type of AI software. I know I was stunned. When was this? Probably was that in 20, I think around 2020, so about 6 years ago, when I was working associate general counsel for a federal agency. I was going through the gate, and all of a sudden I see that they have facial recognition software, so you don't even have to show your ID anymore. And I'm like, no, that wouldn't work for me because I would think you have to go in there and get some kind of specialized photo, some kind of 3D photo of yourself for this thing to work. But even with a baseball cap on, it would be able to screen me and validate who I was without having anything other than my standard issue photo from the government ID card. So I think that this is going to be something that they're going to be able to put together. In if they can't do exactly how his face looks, I think what you can have is also the bone structure. They're going to figure out his weight, his height, and things of that nature. I know one time I had a case where the uh, the guy was charged with being part of a theft ring, going into things like Best Buy, Circuit City, those type of places, and going in with like 6 different guys, and they'd all walk out with something, and the store just didn't know how to handle that kind of a mass thievery. And anyway, they thought that my client was the one that did it. So when I saw the security camera coverage from there at the hearing, I had to laugh because it was so obvious to me that that wasn't my client because the shape difference of the head between the um, the bald subject in question and my client was like totally different. So that's why I knew that we didn't have to worry about this going to trial. And sure enough, charges were dismissed after that hearing. So yeah, they're going to be able to totally tell by bone structure alone. I think narrow it down. That's going to take some time. They're going to have to run the traps on the license plate readers, and then try to sort down which cars could this possibly be. It's not going to take as long as it did on the Florida Adelson case, where they had a real close window of time, and they had the toll tags to be able to be searched, looking for specific type of car. They knew the type of car. Here, we don't even know the type of car, right? Ashley Kane, you're saying Savannah has not been giving correct info from the beginning. Her mom has not been at church since 2020 because of mobility, all made up stories. Yeah, I haven't heard that from her, but specifically, but I think, did she attend church virtually? So could that have been the disconnect? If this is a burglary, why didn't they take any of the valuables like jewelry, money cards? They only took Nancy. Yeah, that's I don't know. It does None of this makes sense. Because if they're gonna do a burglary like this, it's so much, it's not even amateur level. Jojo Boat Girl, I heard the feds have a huge warehouse of every shoe ever made, and they have people who know clothes, so I think they'll catch them. I doubt that's true about having every shoe ever made. There'd be so many of those to hold on to, but I think if they have digitally on record the types of shoe, and they know how to get a hold of the manufacturer, but that surprised me if they had that. They made the effort to get every kind of shoe out there and known to mankind. Luis, you're saying you agree with the first interview with the family. The daughter stood out. Facial expression and body language is so sad. We pray for a breakthrough that's case in this case soon. Marissa, yes, I agree. The Moody has a good pick of his mouth. Could say a lot. It does. Laura Rush, the brother-in-law's bandmate looks just like the masked man with the scar on his lip. Yeah, see, we don't have any kind of digital enhancement, so with digital enhancement, I've not seen the scar on his lip, but if that's the case, yeah, that's some kind of earmark signature like that. Leslie, you're thinking I think he was looking down because it's pitch black out there, but he also had a little flashlight in his mouth that he could turn on. So maybe he's making sure there's no step he's going to get tripped up on. But yeah, that could have been part of it as well. He didn't want his face to be seen. Maybe he thought he was above the angle of coverage. Jenny Kent. Yeah, there was a pizza delivery to the door of Nancy, and the police were sitting right there. Yeah, they just walked right on up. Nobody said anything. D. Flint, you're saying I have suspicion that Annie and her husband knew or believed that the other sister would pay a ransom. Annie and her husband don't make much, but the sister makes millions. Yeah, there's a huge income disparity there. Um, maybe there's some kind of internal family fighting over who's going to get mom's asset after she passes. Yes, Jay Carver. If the Nancy's house had interior cameras and a backup subscription service, there would be something more to go on. That is true. The other thing, the counter to that is, a lot of people don't want to have the invasion of privacy of everything going up on a cloud somewhere. You want to have some privacy in your house. John Smith, there could be DNA inside the glove. Absolutely. If that's the glove that the guy was wearing, then there will be DNA in there. I'm pretty positive. He may have some other gloves inside of those. Those look like really oversized gloves, way too big for his hands. So if he had some other type of cotton gloves or something underneath it. And the other thing is I was thinking like those gloves were so cumbersome to be able to have on his hand that there's no way he'd be able to quickly draw a weapon. So that was another foolish thing for him to do is have such thick gloves on. All right, real Kim, you're saying I didn't want to say this, but the sister is very suspicious at this point. I just thought she looked very suspicious in that public address where she's sitting there and her eyes are closed. She looked more like she was in fear of being caught than having fear for her mother. That's my kind of vibe I was picking up on. Yeah, most proof kidnappers will show proof of life to get the ransom money. Tariq, I agree. If you don't show proof of life, then how are you supposed to get the money? So this thing was just not thought out well at all. Sarah LeBlanc, you're saying Annie has a really high blink rate in the second video. Yeah, I mean, it's really bizarre. Marissa, if you can look on the channel, I also have a website. I have extensive experience prosecuting and defending cases, both civilian and military, court martials, jury trials in particular. Zenkos, did I notice Annie in the first family interview where blinking was off the charts? Yeah, I don't remember the blinking off the top of my head, but it just looked very strange. I think the second time I saw her, it was more strange than the first one. Kieran Laughlin, none of this makes any sense. Feel sorry for the family, but there are so many children that go missing every year and they don't get any public attention. Just an opinion. Yeah, I was mentioning that as well. That because she's tied to somebody famous, her daughter Samantha, that this is getting way different kind of coverage. Flightless. If my mom was kidnapped, I wouldn't be so sad as much as I would be furious. Yeah, I mean it's. I thought the most natural was the last one that Samantha gave on her own. She seemed to be more natural and talking more normal. The other one was obviously scripted. It would have been ran through the FBI on what to say, but yes, Sarah, in the military, do you have resistance to interrogation training in SEER school? Not SEER school. No, you have to be a specialist in a certain field, like a pilot, somebody could be captured behind enemy lines. They definitely have to go to SEER school, but not me as a JAG, a judge advocate attorney for the military. But we do have annual training where we do cover how to resist capture and interrogation. Everybody does that if you're in the military, part of OPSEC. No relation to the author, but I got a brother, John. Okay, Alex Perkins, you think people want it to be Savannah's brother-in-law or sister because it would be easier to solve, and you're not convinced since sister looked guilty, I'd be exhausted and freaked out too. Okay, that's fair. I'm just giving you my gut impressions. Something didn't look right. Yeah, you're saying KML and the way the sister and brother-in-law covered their faces in the car when the photo was taken. Why? I think I saw what you're talking about. Maybe they didn't want to be in the news, being seen in a car with their sad faces or whatever expressions they had. So I don't know if I would say there's anything to take away from that. Like Sally, you're saying beginning of the first video, she was smiling. Standard Poodle, why is the back and forth at both houses? Well, some of it they realize certain evidence leads you to when they examine it, they realize they got to go back and they missed something else to look at, like they didn't go up on the roof initially, right? So they went up on the roof um, almost a week later, I think it was, and at Nancy's house, and then last couple days this weekend they were spending at Annie's house. So Patty Gee, you're saying the guy in LA that got caught doing the fraudulent ransom sent a text to Annie and her husband, then he called each of them. Connection. I don't know. Somebody said that the guy's connected to the band or something. I have no idea. I don't. There's a lot of misinformation out there, so I don't think that would be the case, but you never know. Yeah. It's Linda Watson, but who's the guy breaking in her house? Yeah, that we I think we'll find out here in the coming days. Peaceful Heart, how someone could have the moxie to show up and take someone like that is nuts. I mean, it is really nuts. To me, it looks like it was done as a message, as punishment, as retaliation, retribution. So that's what it seems to be more of, not a burglary. It's more like did somebody hire a hitman to go, rough her up and then and kidnap her just to make a scene and make a message. I mean, this thing every day that you keep your way, it's going to be a national coverage 24/7. Linda, you're saying there's a bumbled Coors family kidnapping? I don't remember that one. Sharma Lily, you're saying it appeared like she was trying to force an upset emotion. And I will say that, that I know that everyone acts differently to stress, to tragedy. So But I'm just telling you, my instincts, I pick up whether I think it's genuine, sincere, and natural, and I just wasn't picking up that stuff was that for Annie. The Bonnie life. You're saying please look up Georgia versus Edric Faust. This case is truly criminal, so sad and unbelievable. True crime in a minute. Seeing a person breaking in with a ski mask and gun, highly doubtful she's alive. Yes, I think it was such a unprofessional job that I mean, would they be more likely to kill her or less like? That's the thing I sort of have been tossing around in my head. And what are the odds none of the neighbors have any kind of Ring camera or Nest camera or Simply Safe or ADT or anything that shows a driveway, some kind of image of a driveway, somebody pulling into a driveway. So if it's just on the front door, what about somebody driving up? Do they want to capture a car or how about a trail cam? That's what I think is it's important to have a trail cam. If you don't have Wi-Fi connection out to where you're at, then just have a trail cam that's hidden well and they can't see it. There's so much brush and trees around there and cacti that Patty, you're saying pacemaker batteries do not need charging. Katrina Raven, the camera on her roof was a wildlife camera. Okay, I've not heard that before. Laura Rush, you think she died unexpectedly? Design rhythm. Everyone I know with million plus homes have alarms for sure. I'm surprised this has not come up anywhere that I've seen, but I'm surprised she didn't have a life alert. And what those are, shoot, my grandma, when was that? Back in the late 90s, I had one for my 100-year-old grandma, a life alert. She was living alone and was mobile and everything. Had full mental faculties, and I got her a life alert because once in a while she'd fall down, but thankfully never broke any bones or anything or sprained anything. Just basically just got up. But anyway, life alert. It's like they have a little medallion on a necklace around your neck. You just wear it 24/7. It's like even waterproof, I think. And anytime you fall, it senses a fall, and even if it doesn't sense it, you can just press a button, and then it calls a machine you have in the center of the house or wherever you want it, and then somebody's calling you, basically speaking to you, saying, "Hey, is it bad? Do we need to call 911 for you?" And so she didn't even have that, and it's not a money issue for them. So I'm just really shocked that she didn't have that set up because I think that could have thwarted the whole kidnapping because if she would have been laying in the bed, seen this masked man, um, and she would have pressed that button. A masked man hearing somebody talking in the living room, "Hey, are you okay?" And they could say her name, even stuff like, "Nancy, are you okay? Nancy, what's going on? We're going to call 911 if we don't hear from you." And then I think that have freaked out these thugs, and that could have helped her. Yeah, Patty, you're correct. Some Apple Watches detect falls and alert police as well. I've heard that. I don't know if you have to have it in a special setting or not. So she was not set up well as she should have been, both camera wise and also like with the life alert. Nunya Biz says the cops know if she's still alive due to cardiologist's office having access to the pacemaker actually. That's interesting. But I think you have to have Wi-Fi connectivity, and if you don't have Wi-Fi connectivity, I don't know if they have that connection. Can you answer that at all? Because remember, she got disconnected from her Wi-Fi. They could tell that. Charlotte Boyd, the backpack has been identified as Walmart hiking backpack. That's what I thought. That Ozark Trail. I saw the exact one on Reddit. It looked like the perfect match. You couldn't see exactly the Ozark Trail, but everything else on it was to a T, including the reflective stripes in the front. The light in the mouth is a small bite light. Only those who work hands free usually use those kind of lights, possibly mechanic. That could be, although I know when I was deployed to the Middle East, each time I would have one of these little lights that you can just press it and hold it down. Super small and convenient. You can put it on a keychain, and they're really handy to use. And you could put that in your mouth and have it, just bite on it, and it would turn it on, and bite again and turn it off. So don't know if there's a special one to have in your mouth if that's the case. Elizabeth Ware, that's another great point. Here we have to wonder if the Nest cameras were set up to have notifications go to Annie for alerts as well as Nancy because that's how your mom's was set up. Yeah, so why didn't any kind of alert go off for Annie? Do you need a subscription for that? And why would they let that lapse? Standard Poodle, you're saying she shouldn't be living alone at 84. Well, I know they say she can't move more than 50 yards without support. And, she had the heart condition. But, the thing is, people want their independence. And so she maybe felt she was mentally acute enough and alert. And it seems like she had a lot of energy to her otherwise. So maybe she liked to have her quiet life there. And so I think that's an individual judgment call. I just wish she would have been set up better to prevent this kind of thing from happening. Laura Rush, you're saying even Alexa can call for help. I accidentally did that. My daughter was called. It was crazy. Well, I had no idea. Oh, Zenka says, yes, my mother had a life alert. And I used to get called all the time, and they were all false alarms. And then when she had a fatal fall, she wasn't wearing it. Ooh, sorry to hear that. Dawn 64. If there's a body in the desert, the buzzards, coyotes will be circling or howling its prey to them. That's why I don't understand why they didn't bring out the bloodhounds to cover that whole area. Because they got her scents from the house. And would there be a trail? If they never took her in a car, they just hauled her into some, I don't know. I don't know if she's laying in some rough terrain out there where they just dragged her and they left her to die. We don't know. But I think having bloodhounds would help rule that out. Jay Bachelor. Savannah has offended VIP people on the show. It's revenge abduction, question mark. Well, that I've seen that come up as well, where she helped bring to light the victims from the Epstein case, where hundreds of young girls were basically groomed and set up to be molested by highest ranking people across the globe. Lisa, yes, life alert, waterproof indoor cameras now also. I'm shocked we need to take care of our families. Radioactive gaming. I think this guy knew exactly what to expect. Well, did he expect the cameras to be able to show coverage of him? So he didn't miss. He didn't get that one right. And I think we're going to find a lot more digital stuff nailing this crew, this evil crew. Lauren Lakes, yes, I'm also surprised that nobody's following her pacemaker with an app that got alerts. I mean, you got the pacemaker in there that can do alerts. You got the Apple Watch that could have done it. You got an alarm system that's not got a subscription service. You don't have enough cameras. You don't have cameras to show vehicles that come in the driveway. Your daughter is nationally known on the news 5 days a week in the mornings for all Americans to look at and get their news coverage from. So yeah, you could be a target, and yet you didn't have those things to prevent this from happening. It is shocking. Maybe she didn't even lock her back door or front door for that matter. So could the timing of this be to help cover up the release of names and all the descriptions of what these sickos did? Anything's possible. Things are going on so crazy right now in the world. But anything's possible. I know somebody said something about Michael Feldman, the husband of Savannah. He was also named in the Epstein release of documents, but it was just that from what I saw, the only thing that was mentioned is Epstein was recommending someone to go to his firm because he helped do the PR spin for some other folks that got busted for sexual misconduct, Bill Clinton and General Petraeus. So that's what they mentioned. I don't think he was mentioned as one of the perpetrators at all. So, but if you have his wife Savannah helping bring the light and making this the victims have a name and a face and get that kind of coverage. I think she did some kind of show called the title was Reckoning. She had, I don't know, 7, 8 girls on there, women. Grace, you're saying that, however, the elderly need to wear those devices. My parents refused. Yeah, that's the other thing. They want their independence. They have confidence that they can leave their doors unlocked and they're going to be fine. The world is a safe place. Flightless. I'd love to know if the watch was ripped off or taken off correctly. Anha, you're saying the pacemaker apparently needs the home base to report to the doctor. Yeah, or else connecting to some Wi-Fi. Maybe not the home base, but at least the Wi-Fi. I'm not sure. Kathy, you're saying life alerts call through 911 ASAP. Yeah, I don't know if they go through the Rolodex, like they first call a family member. If they don't respond, then they call 911. But I think they first call the person that is wearing the device. They call the home there. So at least that's the way it worked back in the late 90s. Yeah, Jam. My mom had Life Alert and she used it a couple times. It helped me not worry so much as well. Bookish Red. Pacemaker can still be operational after death. Hey, that's the other thing we found out today. So by pulling off the Nest camera off of the doorpost there, it probably was still recording that happening. And when the person's sticking their bag, it's probably still recording for who knows how many minutes. So any conversations you would have had would have been picked up as well. So So that'd be nice if the FBI had that as well. Veteran 61. Too bad she didn't have ADT. That's another security service here. One of the main national ones in the United States for those of you out of the country. They provide excellent cameras around the house and a real good doorbell. And I assume you mean doorbell with a camera. I have anybody that comes near the house notifies me on my cell phone. Yeah, that's a pretty neat service. Patty Gee, to watch this contact whoever you have down as your emergency contact event you fall. That's true. Brenda Winters, even if you don't have a life alert, you can wear a smartwatch or take your car keys to bed at night, hit the panic button, horn button if there's a problem, and neighbors will hear the horn honking. Yep, that is true. That's something that most people forget about. Send cost, you're saying the pacemaker cannot be traced without her watch or phone. Richie, how do they manage pacemaker info before Wi-Fi? Not sure about that. Leslie, you're saying people can be frightened into a heart attack. I've seen people have a heart attack when people jump out and say boo. That's what I'm saying. So this looks like it's a more if somebody had knowledge of her and her routines or setup, but that's what it appears to be. But then why would you target somebody like her? That's why it has this it has this inkling of this being something to send a message kind of crime. Design rhythm, funny 8 to 9 hour delay calling 911 just like the Idaho 4. Well, I didn't see that that was an 8 or 9 hour delay. I think it was like a 40 some minute delay, 40 to 50 minutes somewhere in there. So not sure what you mean by that. Katrina Raven. If it's a son-in-law and a bandmate, why are they beelining to Rio Rico to pick up an innocent guy? I think they were alerted that somebody said he looked like the masked man. So they got to follow all leads like that. So I think that's a good thing that they're following all leads, and if they are closing in on somebody else. Yeah. Okerlund, yeah, the OJ gloves. I think that the gloves could be a key thing here. Although the OJ gloves, that was a big ruse. That was the prosecution got set up on that. You can take medication to make your joints swell, and you can also have your thumb out, and that's exactly what it appeared to be the case. So it looked like they wouldn't fit. That was all staged. That could easily be staged to look like the gloves don't fit for the OJ Simpson case. Yeah, keep praying she's found safe. Your heart breaks for her. Hope Walker, you're saying he came to do whatever he did to whoever was in the house, and he walked her somewhere. The glove was found on the side of the road. Yeah, it was a mile and a half away, so it's maybe something he threw out the window as he's driving away in case he gets stopped by a cop or something. But it may not even be the same glove, but it's worth finding. I'm glad they're searching a mile and a half away. Kitty's, did she use a cane? I've not heard that. Can anybody else confirm that? All right. Emilio, you're saying she never came home from Annie's. Thanks, Alan. Ship 4C smells from the inside out. Yeah, so could it be a electrician? I heard there was maybe an electrician that was part of the new roof. Could he have this kind of capability and access? Britgal, Life Alert is a great idea. I don't know if you're in Britain, if that's part of your name, but yeah, I think Life Alert is another measure of protection, especially if somebody's going to fall. Okay, D. Flint, you agree with the observations that I had. I've conducted many investigations, see that Annie's body language is extremely off. It is. It's just doesn't align with something you would think is a normal behavior. There you go. Okay, that's coming out now. That's what I was able to find yesterday after somebody showed it on Reddit. Authorities in TMZ say the backpack matches a Walmart Ozark Trail hiker model. Yep, for sure. And so, what are they going to do? They're going to spend all that time looking around every place. They're going to be able to find what places in Tucson area sell that Ozark Trail backpack, and it's going to be at a Walmart. So any of the Walmarts there, they're going to be able to probably find every time it was sold, and if the guy paid for it on a credit card, they're going to find everybody that bought one of these on a credit card. And like a lot of stupid criminals, they do it like a couple days before they commit the crime. So Agatha, Misty, at what age? At that age, once you lose your independence, that's it. It's a big decision for families. I don't think we should judge them for that. No, it's not a matter of judging, but I think we're just talking about what things can you do to have better protection for if you have an elderly parent or parents that live somewhere in this kind of a setup and you can afford it, then why not get them better digital protection that way? Have a life alert, have a trail cam or have a ring or nest or ADT, have those kind of alert systems set up. Laura Rush, you're saying, I think she died on the kidnappers and they have her somewhere. I mean, that's very easily could be the case. She could have died within minutes of them getting in the house. All right, last one out. You're saying she's been in that house, you think, since 2005. Hope Walker, she got in a car, folks. Yeah, I would think so. But, would a bloodhound be able to tell you that if she got in a car or not? I think the trail would end there in the driveway, but if she didn't, if she was I think that there's no sidewalk, there's no back alley kinda thing that they could have taken her, so I do think that they most likely had to take her with a vehicle that would have been in the front driveway. Kim Steineke, life alert, absolutely, she should have had that. I wonder if a family member manages her bills and when she was on the Nest last paid. When was the Nest last paid? Yeah, I was I saw somewhere, and again, this is just probably false information, but someone says that Annie picked up her meds the day before this happened, so she just got restocked her meds. Uh, I'll say, Joey, you saying, I think law enforcement have nothing, and I worked as law enforcement on missing people case for 17 years. It doesn't make sense that he took her almost 2 weeks and no credible ransom request. It's bizarre. Yeah, I don't think this was initially planned as a ransom, kidnapping and ransom. It's something else. Maybe the person had more clothes on underneath his jacket to make him look bigger. Yeah, I think so. Also, maybe not see the contours of his body as much. I think it's more like a windbreaker with maybe some kind of fleece jacket underneath or something. Not sure. Bill Slaughter, intruder acted like he was in no hurry, as if he thought no one was home, or like he knew that just an elderly lady lived there. That is, I agree with that. Someone said, "Do you think it's a Jason that's there walking around?" Jason Castile. He identifies himself as Jason. Lips, walk, facial hair, shoes, and front two teeth. I'm telling you, it's him. He walks by every day speaking with the media. I don't know who you're talking about. All right. The Rasol Red, you're saying it seems to be a somewhat sloppy investigation. I could be wrong. I think it's going a lot better now that we have the FBI there taking the lead. I think this is way over the head of the sheriff's department. Right here, Charity, you're saying I don't think it was random because it would, if it was, he would have gone to a house that was easier, like one of the neighbors. They don't have cameras, but he chose the house with a camera. Yeah, I don't know how many of those have cameras. You'd think all of them would. Even a smooth criminal one day must get caught, says Kyler. These are definitely not smooth criminals here. A rush, I don't think that has anything to do with Savannah or jobs. They would take that out on the network. Anything's possible. All right, trying to see what is a response here. Trish, you say you don't trust the door camera footage. Jose Furwin, I stayed at a friend's house in the area. It's dark at night and dead quiet. Yeah, so Catherine, so terrifying for all the people out there who have parents living alone. At least after this, there will be more attention paid to the safety of our elderly living alone. That is a good thing that people will be motivated, I would think, to have better safety measures done to protect their elderly parents or family members. Dwayne Spence, the gloves and mouth controlled flashlight are commonly used among HVAC electrician and plumber trade. Veteran 631. Savannah interviewed her mother on the Today Show. She interviewed her mom at her mother's house. That could put a target on it to look to see where she lives. If you guys have questions, if you want to put like triple question mark or something, I can find it quicker. Miss Shayla Frisco says pacemakers are not enabled with GPS capabilities. Yeah, I don't. I think you're correct on that because they would have to have Wi-Fi connection. So if they don't have Wi-Fi, they don't have cellular capabilities. Do they have cellular capabilities? I guess so. If they don't have Wi-Fi connection, are they connected to local cell towers? Anita, I think Nancy was punched in the nose. There was blood drops in the front of the door. It sounds like a couple amateurs that bit off more than they could chew, and maybe she saw their face and they aborted the mission. Yeah, something. This is not planned out well at all. Yeah, they've gotten away with it for 11 days, but it's not going to be that much longer. Sarah Terry, I thought it was totally money motivated and the revenge ideas were too conspiratorial, but I could see it now a bit more. There's been some major ideologically motivated crimes over the years. It just does not seem like a kidnapping for ransom kind of case. With the way they're trying to get the money and not giving proof of life, that's not that doesn't seem like that was planned out at all. That seems like a afterthought. Karen Flakler, is it possible she was already dead when the abductor was caught on camera and it was just a ploy to throw the law off the trail? It could be. We don't know if they came in through the back and that person went up the front and this was after they already had her in the car and that they were just going to grab the camera off the front doorpost. Allison, yes, Nancy's emergency contact would be your daughter and son-in-law, given they were only 10 minutes away. Johnny Handyman, the FBI wanted this case. The FBI knows who's involved, but are prolonging the case to downplay the Epstein Trump case. Boy, I hope not. Zen Koss, is it true that Tommaso had a gambling debt? Then could the perpetrators do this to extract money owed to them by Tommaso? It just sounds. I don't think that people are involved in gambling and going after people for gambling debts. They would not be this reckless and and not even to the level of amateurs. So no, I don't think that's possible. Tracy Smith, you know, if the FBI did a profile, I'm sure they're constantly upgrading the profiles they have on this guy with the new data. Obviously, I think they've had the image of him for a number of days. They probably had it 4 or 5 days before they released it publicly. And so they're they're definitely taking information and trying to profile this. Taylor Burton, you agree with Carl? Send a message crime. I don't know. I mean, if you're not there to burglarize the place, and we don't know for sure if they did walk away with something, right? So, but maybe the backpack was full because he'd already come around from the back and filled it up. So we don't know exactly what was in that backpack or what time this was. James, don't want to say your name wrong. Strike, maybe. I could say it in German, but anyway, you're also an Iowan, so that's good to see. You were part of a huge citizen volunteer search group, a team leader. We had horses, ATV, and bodies from a lot of states and divers. Yeah, they're not really canvassing the area. That's what I was wondering about initially. Um, and walking along the road a mile and a half away from the house. I mean, that's a lot of, and all the dense brush they have there. There's stuff they could miss, but at the same time, they probably don't want other folks to come across evidence and trample on evidence. But if you're looking for a body, I think it's worthwhile. Georgia boat girl, you're saying, well, let me show that. Okay. Okay, there now. Now it's working. Savannah did report on the Epstein victims and challenged Trump and Gates on the issue hard to the point of embarrassment. James, you're saying then why not in this case? Weird. Yeah, I mean, I think why not? What do you got to lose? Because there's a chance she could still be alive. That's the real difference here. Most of the cases we're dealing with on true crime, we don't have a victim that's potentially alive. It's always a victim that's been murdered. Please do all caps. It's hard on my eyes. Dwayne, you're saying unless destroyed, an S camera will record up to 7 months. That's interesting. Um, Balbucci Joey, as a former law enforcement missing persons, the Tommaso Annie theory doesn't add up. They had her in her home for 4 hours and then drive home. This is when you would act, not head back in a mask. Well, none of this really makes any sense. So it's not going to be sensical. How do we know that she was there for 4 hours? Rosa, of all the houses in that area, why was Miss Guthrie's house chosen to go into? That's because I think it wasn't random. I think it was targeted. I don't think the FBI knows what it's doing anymore, says Cami. Well, I can tell you that you can find incompetence at different levels in pretty much any government agency, including law enforcement, including FBI. But I think they're going to be able to solve this one. Allison McMahon, do I feel that C that was detained and released could be brought back again in the future? I don't know why he got cleared, so I don't know how he's relevant. Lauren Lakeshire saying Carlos Enrico had delivered a package to Nancy's house. I don't know if we've have that confirmed or not, but I think they've pretty much cleared him. The Dark Horse is asking, why did Savannah call Senator Kelly before the police? I'd heard that as well too. That seems odd. Zen Cos. I have a feeling Chris Nano won't be elected as sheriff after this. He had lost a sheriff's race some years ago because there's some kind of corruption in his office with other folks. Apparently, it wasn't involving him, but a couple of higher ranking folks got prosecuted. That's some years back. Lauren Lesser, why is TMZ such a great part of this situation? Kind of weird. Yes, I agree with you. It's extremely strange. Yes, Bunny, uh, they could get DNA from inside the glove, assuming it's the glove in question. So what is the most common belief from y'all that are following this right now on this live stream? Carol Lucy, they look like industrial gloves, rubber ones you use working with chemicals and the like. Yeah, I agree. Rubber or that they're not the thinner kind like these the ones you see at restaurants or hospitals where you find like 100 in a box. I think they're a thicker kind. I forget the name of it. Some with the one the N is how some of them are made. Other material, rubber type material. Rosemary Gallagher, I believe it was staged. I picked up on that right away. Confused the detectives. Melanie, you originally thought this was a disgruntled house employee. All right, so Chuck Barkley, you're saying she did use a cane. Okay, thank you. Others are agreeing with that. Tim K. Luna, I think Nancy was already gone when the person disabled the camera. That could have been the last thing they did before they left the place, right? But then the question is, well, how did the blood get to the front door there? if that was the last thing they did, then I wouldn't think you'd see blood at the front door. Two gloves? I'm not seeing anything about two gloves. Trish, you're saying she also used a walker. Governor, yeah, the person in the video didn't know to bring something to cover the camera. That's extremely bizarre. And yet they act so comfortable, like as if they live there. Yeah, that's what that sounds about right, Miss Shayla. I read that the pacemaker stopped being paired with her smartphone app at 2:30 a.m. on the morning of her abduction. Of course, we don't know. Kendall think it's the roofer. He just looks too comfortable there. Low energy, low IQ looking to think he could pull this off. Yeah. Buttercup, yes. Today's big news was law enforcement took more evidence from Annie's house. But you know what? I'm not so sure that was law enforcement taking evidence. I think that might have been folks, security folks hired by the Guthries that were going in, grabbing a few personal items because those were not evidence bags. One of them was a grocery bag. The other one looked like a big shopping bag. And that's not how you collect evidence. That's not how FBI would collect evidence. So they happen to have a SUV like the FBI officers drive, but I don't think that was law enforcement that they showed video of those two guys, and one of them went and got the mail, and just because he's wearing blue gloves, I think everyone thought that they must be agents. Yeah, TMZ saying they got another ransom note. Not how recent are you talking? Now somebody was asking for one Bitcoin, which is worth around $66,000, to be able to rat out the perpetrator. And you can get 50,000 bucks from the FBI by ratting them out. So just another crazy rabbit trail to flush out. Jay Batchelor, 1973 kidnapping of John Paul Getty III is the most prominent case involving an ear being cut off by the captors to force a ransom payment. Wow. I'd not heard of that. The 6-year-old grandson of billionaire J. Paul Getty. Okay, so there they went after a weak family member to try to get back at another family member with a lot of money. But the way this whole ransom thing was paid off, like I say, it looks more like this was done as punishment, retaliation. Jennifer McIntyre, her roof was recently redone. I wouldn't be surprised if a roofer took that note. She lived alone and wanted to rob her and it went bad. That it very easily could have been the case as well. But then going to the extent of creating this whole scenario of of extortion. Maybe that's they learned about it and then decided to send out those messages. But how would they know where the Apple Watch was left in the house? Supposedly that's why the main reason they think that those strange ransom demands are somewhat legitimate from someone connected to the house, being at the house. Yes, I am checking the comment, looking for chat comments. If you have a question, though, if you guys can put like some kind of thing to make the triple question mark before and after your question. Otherwise, I'm having to read every single one to see if it's a question. So I could get through these quicker, please. Okay, thanks, Lieutenant Pez Dispenser Tully. Do you realize you're only half visible unless you lean back? Okay, 1 second here. Let me camera. Does that work any better? Governor, you're saying, do we think there's more than one kidnapper? I think there's more, at least two. Yeah, that's what I think also. Dumbest kidnapping ever, 84-year-old woman with a bad heart and dire need of daily medication. Hello. And you can't get proof of life and you can't even have a legitimate way to get the money without there being a digital trail. Well, maybe why do people keep saying this is not a kidnapping? What was it then? Says Karen. Well, I think maybe there's some kind of kidnapping, let's say, but there's where the ransom is what's so screwy about it. It's not a normal kidnapping for ransom kind of case. Putting cup, in your opinion, Annie is trying to pull a Wendy by acting how she thinks a person would act. Lisa Davies, sad truth is NASA or the military spy satellite technology can read license plates in underground parking garages. Dark journalist always talks about how our government has wild advanced tech. Yeah, between the different intel agencies, if they got their assistance on this. Valerie, you think she died as being transported? Let's hope not. But how long in that scared, terrorized state could she hold up? River Birch, since most kidnappings are done to extort money, seems like the perpetrators would be in constant contact to close the deal unless something happened to Nancy. But why would they give them so much time to come up with the money? Oops, lost my spot. Katrina Raven, you're saying there's only one in the area and the pants he was wearing were 5.11. That's a tactical wear shop, a lot of law enforcement military buy clothing there. It's like military grade type stuff. You can buy military belts and holsters and stuff like that, I think there. I don't think I've been in those stores, but I don't think I've ever bought anything, but Miriam Kamuji, do I think that the masked person could be staging killed at Annie's? I would love to know what the video cameras show of ride home. Yeah, hopefully we'll see that. Hopefully they're getting more digital breadcrumbs that they left behind. And that is very, very much an indicator that the FBI is thinking that we got to flesh out more details about Annie and her husband and their house and neighborhood. If there weren't some indicators, they wouldn't be going back this many times. We can't say that they're involved, but they need to at least rule it out and do their due diligence. Yes, thanks. Don't want to get into politics here. Thank you. Agree. Jay Bachelor, vehicle at doorstep, but how perpetrator get into the house? Well, maybe she left the door unlocked, front or back door unlocked, or maybe they knocked on the door, called her by name. Thanks, Joy. My missing piece, Jax. I wonder why they keep going back to Annie's home because they have more leads to follow up on, more evidence to try to gather and see if it's testable. Love this show. Says, I don't think the family sent the Bitcoin money. Yesterday, there was one Bitcoin deposited to the account to the tune of approximately $356. I heard that in some account within Bitcoin, $6 million was deposited today, but they didn't know which account it was deposited in. So probably nothing to go on there. Sarah Howard, I wonder how much life insurance is on her and who are the beneficiaries or beneficiary. Yeah, normally somebody 84 with heart condition, I don't think she'd have any life insurance on her. I don't think she's an insurable interest. It'd be like 100,000 a year if they would insure her for maybe half a million of coverage. But I just don't think she would. Anybody with a pacemaker, no way would they take an insurance risk on somebody like that. Judy, you're saying it's been suggested he had a Tyvek suit underneath the clothes. It looks like he did have something other than just like a basic windbreaker on to try to bulk himself up, and maybe he did to try to keep DNA from being released in the home. Bumblebee, you're saying with a miss entry, they turned off her pacemaker. GPS. Apparently, they don't have a GPS on the pacemaker. Yeah. I just don't think there's any life insurance. I've never heard of life insurance for somebody for 84. Zenkosh, you're saying that Savannah was born in Melbourne. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Melbourne, Australia, in the state next to you. Her family moved back to Tucson when she was 2 years old. Her father was working as a mining engineer in Melbourne. I did not know that. I knew I read that she had her dad died when she was only like 16 or 8 or 9 or something like that. I can't remember. That was super hard to have to deal with as a young girl. So I think this is something, it appears something tied to the family, something having to do with family dynamics. It appears that way. Um, and the Savannah connection, if but for Savannah, I don't think this crime would have happened. And by that, I mean because of her popularity, who she is, the fact she makes a lot of money, I think that obviously puts a target on her mom's and the whole family for that matter. All of them can become a target of some opportunist. Lauren Lakes, I don't ask her any money on this channel, so what's the charge for the one Bitcoin request? Well, Bitcoin, I'm not on that, but Bitcoin is like one Bitcoin now is worth $66,000. So I don't know if there's a transaction fee, but it's not going to be much compared to $66,000, I imagine. Let's see. Gene Clark, did Savannah pay the ransom? She's not talking about it. So where's the $50,000 from the FBI? Why isn't the family come up with their own? I don't know. Okay, Jake Bachelor, we can agree it's targeted. Yeah, it's targeted, and it's targeted because she's related to the mother of Savannah. We don't know where Annie's husband's at, but please don't use all caps. They're harder on my eyes. If you have a question, just please put it in emoji question marks or exclamation points. Joy Moore, you think the pick of the subject without the backpack and a gun definitely seems to be Tommaso. Your humble opinion. I think I read he's from Italy too. If you're from Italy, you're probably not going to have much experience working with handguns. Ruthie, we don't know if the perpetrator entered through the front or the back. Probably they used perhaps both doors because the back door was unlocked and open, as I understand, and the front door was closed, but we had the blood there. leading from a few feet of the doorway into where the turn circle is for vehicles. So maybe 15 feet or so is my guess. Trish, you're saying criminals hack Wi-Fi cameras to case homes. Mike Goldstein, you're saying, unfortunately, you think it was a hit job. He was told no cameras, but when he arrived, he'd seen the door cam because that guy hired him, didn't tell him it was there. But why would they take the body? I don't know. Is that to create more of a scandal? Uh, Georgia Bowl Girl, you're saying that only 3 months prior to this happening, the Today Show did a special on Savannah's hometown. Interesting. And that could draw some kind of nut for that reason. Oh, hey, look who lives there. Savannah's mother. Could be some stalker of Savannah. Terry Johansson, I've been wondering if this abduction served to keep the Epstein files out of the headlines, the MSM. If so, it's been extremely successful in that effort. Thanks to Tiliana. Yep, what's wrong with people? Unreal. Unreal. Things are getting crazier by the day, it seems like. Yeah, Brooke Brewster, money should have been mentioned and possibly exchanged hands by now. This looks terrible for Miss Guthrie. Yeah, I mean, even the message that was given out by the siblings, they're just there wasn't really just we want our mother back, we got the money, tell us where to send it, show proof. I mean, it wasn't really like it wasn't passionate enough, I think, wasn't assertive enough. I just it just seemed like they're I don't know, it just something was off with it. I just cannot believe that was the way the FBI told them how to respond. Just seemed really off. Ms. Ches, you're saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't imagine hurting an elderly person." Yeah, well, it happens quite a bit. Assisted living places, senior care places. There's a lot of abuse that goes on. A lot of it. Trekking 360, how detrimental to the future trial would be regarding the mishandling of the crime scene initially. I feel like Pima County has really messed up. I think I can have enough of a digital trail that it's not going to matter some of the flaws that we've seen. Them not securing the crime scene properly, not declaring it a crime scene soon enough, not calling in the FBI soon enough, getting some of the timeline messed up. I don't think any of that kind of stuff is going to be something that is going to create any kind of reasonable doubt for a jury if it goes that way. Yep. Same here. Same here, Karen and Andrews. CJ, your son moved in with his grandma and put cameras inside and out of her house. With her approval, it'd be a good idea for her now to get life alert in case she should fall in the bedroom, bathroom especially. Yes. One extra way to help be alerted if there's an issue. Monique Schmucker, you're saying pacemaker transmits data to a cardiology clinic or monitoring service. Alerts go to medical staff. Pacemakers are designed for clinical monitoring, not emergency family alerts. More of a reason than to have something like a life alert for somebody with her condition. Lisa Davy, you're saying, I'm shocked to find out that after the fact that within the first 24 hours of Nancy missing, a trained air pilot of Pima County Police wanted to get an airplane up to start searching, but the sheriff said no. I had not heard of that. Let's see here. Yeah, we do have conflicting information from the sheriff, but like I said, I don't think anything is going to be a defense when the perpetrators are arrested and tried. And hopefully it's not going to be anything that prevents us from finding who the perpetrators are. I think that Nest video is a gold mine that's going to open up a lot of other avenues to nail these guys. California girl, you're saying you believe this ties to the son-in-law somehow. Well, there's a lot we don't know for sure. It is him, but if it's going to be one of the two, and they keep searching his house and his wife's house, Annie's house, then you just got to wonder, grabbing Nancy and hauling her out of there. I mean, that's something more likely would be done by a middle-aged male than a female, I would say. So I'm not saying I think it's a son-in-law. So yeah, I did not say that. I'm saying there's a lot of indicators. It's could be family members based on this activity at the house. So okay, you're saying there's two live chats running. I have no idea what's going on. That's what was happening. Is a lot of stuff was being duplicated on this StreamYard, so not sure what's going on. Let me see. Yeah, this one's not even tracking on my YouTube studio. So I don't know what's going on. It's really bizarre. Yeah, Trish, you think it's a hit? Yeah, anyways, it's not random. I think it's not random. It's somebody that has knowledge of the house. So whether it's a roofer, an electrician, or a family member, or somebody that knows a family member, it's targeted. It's not random. And so if it's targeted, it's somebody that knows a little bit about the house or knows something about the family. So that could include the family. Marissa, if the family was guilty, would they have arrested him by now? I think they want to make sure they do all their homework first before they do any kind of arrest. So, so anyway, I think I got to figure out where this other live stream is. There another dual live stream that's actually showing me talking right now? I don't know. I'd ask Leslie right now to help me out, but she's out of town. She's back tomorrow, so I'm here going solo. So anyway, I'll have to figure out what's going on with this live stream if that's the case. But anyway, you all have a good night, good day, wherever you're at in the world, and I will follow up this more occasionally is my plan. And one of the other things I want to talk about, and I may do a live stream tomorrow during the day, is the Supreme Court arguments that we had on Alex Murdo. And I think there's some serious problems on that case for the murder conviction he has based on the clerk of court's conduct. So let's hear what the defense argued about it and what the Supremes had to say about it. So, anyway, with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for tonight. Y'all take care, and I'll see you back here soon. And meanwhile, just continue to pray that we find Nancy Guthrie safe and sound and return to her family, and the perpetrators are properly dealt with by law enforcement. So, thanks for joining, and talk to y'all later. Bye.